got a chance to see Hitman on Netflix with Glen Powell. Let's talk about it right now. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I am your host, Frank Zenka. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker. I just got back from LA for a month. I was over there shooting a film with Crispin Glover and waiting to see what my next project is. In the meantime, I'm getting some of my own screenplays out there. So I probably will be doing another Zoom event where I teach low budget filmmaking. If anybody's interested in that, let me know. So it went pretty well on the last one, and I'm looking forward to doing it again now during my off time. Also, if you want to give me a like and a subscribe, I really appreciate it. I am growing the channel out. Plus, I also create board games, and we did a classic Monsters card game. It's a deck building card game, so everything you need is in the box. It's only $35. And you can click the link below. We are fully funded on BackerKit. It's kind of like Kickstarter, so you don't have to worry about it not getting made because we are fully funded. So definitely check that out in the link below. And let's jump right into Hitman. So Hitman, like I said, is with Glen Powell and Adria Arjona. So I knew I had seen her before. I just didn't know where while I was watching it. And of course, Glen Powell does an amazing performance. He also produced it. And I think he helped write it as well. So I can't see anyone else in this role because the movie is based on a true story, but it is completely hinging on two things. A, him playing multiple roles, because he does. He plays multiple roles through the entire thing, and the chemistry between the two leads that propels them to do things that you wouldn't see a normal person do. So we have to believe that, or it doesn't work. So she was from Morbius, Second Pacific Rim, and what was the other one that she was in? Andor. She was also in Andor. So she has she's not a new actress either. She's not new to the scene, but her name is not really well known, even though the project she's been in. If you say, "Oh, she was the hot one in that one," because she is. She's a good-looking lady, and she definitely stands out. But her name doesn't really stick in your head, and it's not a person you go and look for. So, but the chemistry does work between them, and I'm sure that was no short amount of work because she had to act sexy towards him. She had to be alluring, and she had to be enticing, because if not, he would not have stepped out of his comfort zone to be with her. So again, it's based on a true story up to a certain point, right? So it's just the main portion that's a true story. Everything else is fictionalized. So it's as if you took, George Washington, and you said, okay, he was the president of the United States, the first president, and he crossed the Delaware, and now, it's kind of like Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so let's use Abraham Lincoln. So they did Abraham Lincoln vampire hunter, or whatever he did. So that is kind of what this is. Abraham Lincoln was a real person, and he was the president, and he wore a top hat and everything else. That was all true, but he did never fight vampires. So that's how this is. They took a real life person, his name is Gary, and then they shoved him into a fictional story. So Gary was and is in this film a school teacher who part-time works for the police department. So the police department has him doing tech He has basically a side job because he's not making enough money, I guess, being a school teacher. So he does this on the side, but then they have a problem with their uh, one of their undercover operatives. And since he was in the van all this time, he is recruited to take over for this guy that everybody's having a problem with. And he kind of did things that were not, they kind of got him into trouble, this other cop. So they suspended him, but at the same time, what they did was recruited him to step up out of tech and be an undercover operative where he's a hitman. That's where the name comes from. So he's not a hitman. So just go into this knowing that he personally is not a hitman. He's an undercover cop posing as a hitman, and that's how he puts people away. And that is what's based on the true story. So here you have this very geeky guy that Glen Powell is originally playing, and he has to change his personality, has to become these other people, and he does research on the people that he is going to try to put away so he can decide what the costume or the disguise is going to be and the personality that's going to match up with the making them believe that he is a hitman, right? Because he's a very mousy guy, and of course, hitmen have to be, more aggressive, more of aggressive type, and he's just not. So he has to put on these airs of being a completely different person. So when he meets her, he is a completely different person. She doesn't even know who he is in real life. So that's the basis of their relationship is already built on a lie. So that's what makes this interesting is him playing this other character. But the other problem is that of course you know Glen Powell, and he's going to be in Twisters, and he has the same kind of personality in Twisters as he has here. He's very sure of himself, whatever. But then he regresses when he's not in that position, and that's what you have to buy. You have to buy that after he's pushed himself into this other thing, that he then regresses back. I don't know how anybody would regress back, to being a cat guy. He's basically like a cat lady, but a guy version of it. He's all alone, etc. And that's why I think why he took this other job was because also he was alone, so he didn't have anything to do. So anyway, the movie itself is good because of the actors. I wouldn't say it is interesting. The idea is interesting, but just because the idea is interesting doesn't make it a good movie. So that's where I'm coming off from this, that it's fun to watch the actors play in this sandbox. But the movie itself is only okay, if that makes any sense. The actors are what propelled this up. So if you were reading this, the script alone, would it be enough to make you say, yeah, this is a great movie? Probably not. This is not a Mario Puzo script. It's an interesting idea that the actors then propel. So that's how you got to go into watching this. Is I'm gonna go watch actors act and tell me a story with the actors telling me the story. So that's how I feel about the film. I would say it's probably a 6.5 or so. It's above average. It's an above average film, and the actors are what propel it. I wouldn't even call it a 7 because it's only okay. It's only okay, and it kind of even in the middle it kind of drags because it is longer. It's almost 2 hours. It's kind of longer than it should be. So that's how I feel about that. And I think it could have been shortened. Now, what scene could have been removed? I don't know there, because it's not like there was any superfluous scenes. I mean, we get to see him go off on one after the other after another of these things, and him changing his disguises every time. It's interesting, but is it needed? it doesn't propel the story at all. It's just him, Glen Powell showing off his chops, where he's playing a Russian guy, or he's playing this, or he's playing that. So he's constantly changing his personality and his accent or whatever during all of these times, which it's fun to watch, but it doesn't really propel the story forward. So I definitely suggest watching it just for the acting alone. And do you see where it's going to go by the end? I'm like, wow, this is such a small story. How are they going to make this go for 2 hours? And it's really their relationship that keeps it going for the 2 hours, and then getting into trouble together, basically. All right, well, that's it for me. But it's definitely worth a watch if you like Glen Powell and seeing him play in this sandbox. All right. So remember to give me a like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am trying to grow the channel out, so definitely subscribe if you can. It's free. Ring that bell, ding, ding. Plus, remember that the description below has the link to jump into Myth Lords. It is a classic monsters card game. And we have on the back here, you can see the different characters you can play as. So it's Dracula, Frankenstein, creature from the Black Lagoon, and werewolf, and then you can purchase other characters during the game. So you start out the same as everybody else, and then there's a river where you're using cards to purchase cards. So everything you need is in the box. You don't have to buy anything separate. And so there's the Bride of Frankenstein, Mummy, and all these other things. You're attaching weapons and everything else. It's really fun. But also, if that's not even enough, we also have a expansion pack. After I just said you have everything in the box, but this is an additional thing where you can add in characters from Wizard of Oz. So the Wicked Witch, Dorothy, Toto, the Tin Man, Cowardly Lion, the other witches, the Munchkins, etc. They're all in here. So that it just expands the game. Everything you need is in the core game, but if you want to, make it a little more interesting, then you can get the additional stuff. Remember, the link is in there below. Check that out. We are fully funded. There's also a video on that page as well, so you can definitely check that out, and how to play videos and all that stuff as well. So definitely check that out. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Check out some other videos that will appear here as well. And again, have an awesome week.